Thanks for tuning into our podcast. We love having you here, and it's our mission to bring you all the latest and greatest tips, skills, and know-how to make you the best that you can be. We know that you have it in you, and we're going to show you how. Now, let's get started.
Yes, we're still involved in trying to stop the bullying epidemic, but we've discovered a few things along the way. One, people who are fit physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually have a better outlook on life and are more apt to treat others with kindness and respect. Secondly, those who are fit in the four areas mentioned have a much higher self-esteem and they love themselves. Those who love themselves love others much more freely. For the record, my name is Jim Burns, and I am a NASM certified personal trainer. This podcast is designed to help others get consistently fit in more areas than one. Well, hi again, everybody. Welcome back to Consistently Fit, formerly Anti-Bullying 101. My name is Jim Burns, and I'm here to help you get fit in more areas than one, because we believe that the fitter everyone is, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, less chance that they're going to have of bullying others and treating others with the deep-seated anger that they have within them, that either comes from upbringing or it comes from events that have occurred that have really wounded them in a deep way. And those who are wounded, and lots of times it is our students in school if you're a teacher. It could be someone that you're working right next to in the on your job. It could be a friend. It could be a playmate if you're a student. We want to help them. We want to make their life better. And it's my hope that with this podcast, we're going to help people get consistently fit. And the areas that I mentioned, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And with that in mind, they won't have the tendency to be disrespectful, irresponsible, and certainly they'll be much more kind and caring to everyone. Now, my job with these podcasts, or part of it, which I discovered, is to curate articles as well as give you information that I've discovered or developed over the course of the last few years as I was training to become a NASM certified personal trainer. So I'm always looking for great articles, great things that I can share with you. Of course, I credit them. This article that I'm going to share with you, there's nothing in this article that you don't know, but it's stuff that you should be reminded of in order to remain consistently fit. And I will say this right off the bat. Being consistently fit and staying consistently fit is not that hard. It really isn't. And you can do a lot of different things to stay consistently fit. You can. You certainly, there's low impact aerobics. There's basic things that you can do just in terms of bending, twisting, stretching. There are things that you can do with very lightweight bands, a variety of different things. You could even take walks that involve maybe doing stretching along the way, doing squats along the way, all of these things. My favorite thing to do is to walk and maybe do half a mile or so, find a nice spot that in the park that I'm walking in or something, and then jump rope for a few hundred revolutions and then keep going with my walk and then jump rope again. And it really does make a very big difference. You don't have to jump rope long. 3 or 4 minutes is plenty. So if I jump rope and do 100 revolutions in a minute, I'm good. I'm doing pretty good. But it's all about the physical part of it for sure, but it's what it does to your brain and your mind and how it makes you feel when you're done, like you've accomplished something. It even kind of reduces appetite. So I'm going to continue to share parts of this article with you, and it's called Inside Hook, Health and Fitness, fully credited in terms of where the information comes from, and the byline on it is that we call it permanent fitness. Here's how it works. And what can you do? What can you do? What are some of the things you can do to remain fit? Number one, never stop walking. Never stop walking. Now, we've all heard of the 10,000 steps, but there is further research that's out there that says if you walk between 6,000 and 9,000 steps, you reduce your chances of a heart attack or a stroke by 60%. 6,000 steps. Now, that doesn't mean you got to go on. Now, 6,000 steps is roughly 3 miles. There's 2,000 steps in a mile, average, not right on the nose. So if you walk 6,000 steps, guess what? You walk 3 miles. But it could be doing the grocery shopping. It could be walking your son or your daughter in a carriage. It could be walking the dog. It could be when you want to drop your spouse off to go in and get groceries or whatever the case may be. You want to wait in the car. Go into the store, walk the parking lot, walk in place. Anything you can do to keep it moving. Anything you can do to keep it moving. This is one of the greatest ways that you can drastically reduce cardiovascular disease is by walking. Now, you know, if you've listened to these podcasts, my story. I trained for quadruple bypass. And if you've never had a calcium score done, do it. Ask your doctor for a prescription and have them do a calcium score. It takes 5 minutes because it's not the cholesterol that's moving around in your bloodstream. It's the cholesterol that's calcified in the main artery of your heart. That's what'll give you a heart attack. And if the cholesterol in your bloodstream in the arteries of your heart is soft and mushy, that could break off and give you a stroke. So what we want to always remember is that walking helps offset that. Doesn't mean you should go off and eat pizza every night, but what it does is it helps offset those buildups that are in your arteries. I trained for it, and the doctor said to me at the conclusion of my quadruple bypass, he said, it was the exercise that saved you. Don't neglect exercise. And you got to get into the habit of doing it. You have to sedentary lifestyle now is the #1 killer of people in the United States. Laying around too much. You have to move. And this narrative has changed over the course of many years. My father went to the doctor because his face was crooked. He didn't know what it was. The doctor told him to go home and go to bed. The doctor should have dissolved any clot that he may have had and put him on a walking program. But that was 50 years ago. And that's what they did. They didn't want the clot to move, so they told you to lay down. They need to dissolve that. So that clot remained, and a few years later, it broke, and he ended up having a massive stroke. And believe it or not, several years later, a few years later, he had one that killed him. So they never took care of that, of the blood. They never gave him blood thinners, if they even had it back then. But the bottom line is, you must be active. Now, there are different ways that you can walk. The average Japanese person right now takes 6,500 steps a day. And in a survey, they claimed, and the responders were 20 to 60, they claimed that they barely exercised. The body will benefit from exercise, but you want to get your heart rate up to about 60 to 70% of your maximum. And this is what they call zone training. And if you look at it, if you look up zone training online, you're going to find that there are 5 of them. And one of them is just a very basic stroll where you're talking to your kids or your spouse. Zone 2, you're getting a little bit out of breath. And that's where you want to be with your walk. Okay, if you do it right, okay, you're going to end up staying in zone 2, just a little bit quicker pace, and you will give your heart a really nice workout in about 45 minutes. Now, here's the piece that I'll share with you. Our students in school, here we are moving toward, the bullying piece, which I hold so near and dear to me. But the bottom line is, I'm discovering that this type of thing, okay, where you're getting kids trained as adults to walk within 60 to 70% of their maximum heart rate, or you want to get them to with 80 or 90% of their maximum heart rate. And you only have to do that for a very short period of time. So if you're exercising 150 minutes a week, which is 30 minutes 5 times a week, you only got to do it for 1% of the time, which is only a couple of minutes. And you have to be aware of that. You have to be aware of it. All right, I'm going to go out and I'm going to push myself a little bit today. Kids in school must exercise. You can't pull recess because a kid misbehaves. He's misbehaving probably because he's antsy. He may be angry, and we have to deal with that in terms of the other dimensions of the mental dimension and the emotional dimension. Remember, we are spiritual beings living in a physical world, not physical beings living in a spiritual world. And these are the things that we have to be aware of. We have to exercise our mind and our body, because those things are the things that drive us. If our emotions are out of whack, we're going to be treating others in a very, very disrespectful way. If our mind is out of whack, we're going to have depressive tendencies, anxiety, and maybe some other clinical issues that we have to deal with. And we have to be aware that exercise helps with that as well. And that's not me. That's the research. And it helps also with bone loss. It helps our bones as we get older. We might look at kids and we might say they're lazy. They're not lazy. They don't know how to exercise. They think that in order exercise. They have to be on the football team, the basketball team, baseball team. More time needs to be spent teaching kids how to be fit for a lifetime. More time needs to be spent doing that. And if we do that, the kids are going to grow up. It's not a matter of we know young kids are going to run and sprint and do different things, but they don't do it enough. And we have to help and show them how to be physically fit. And we have to talk to them about walking, about maybe walking a little quicker. Okay. And then we have to also talk to them about doing some body weight exercises. And that's basically just some push-ups, sit-ups, and other exercises that you can use, okay, that they could use to help them, that will help them deal with some of the build their muscles as they begin to get older. When you have a teeny bit more muscle on your body, you don't gain weight as quickly, because 90% of your metabolism is in your liver and it's in your legs. And the legs have the largest muscles in the body. So that's something that we have to help kids understand. Movement is medicine. Movement will help them. And then one of the things that this article talks about is mixing up a little bit of running or sprinting, and this can be done on an elliptical. I do it by jumping rope. They may go out and play basketball and run the court back and forth one day. You only have to do something different for a very short period of time. And when you do that, what's going to happen is your body will get shocked and you'll end up increasing your metabolism. So in other words, if you're walking and you have the capacity to run a sprint, and again, don't do this if you haven't checked with your doctor and you haven't made provision for it physically where you've gotten yourself in shape to do it. But the bottom line is, if you're walking, you have the capacity to do a 100-yard sprint, do it. That will shock your body and increase your metabolism. And that's in that one 10-second sprint, 20-second sprint will push your body into a state where it will burn calories for about 2 to 3 days thereafter at a much higher rate. We're always going to burn calories. That'll help you burn calories at a higher rate. So understand that that's something that will help you and help your heart as well, provided you have a healthy heart. Now, the other thing that the last thing I'm going to share with you, and they call it making it part of your identity. Exercise. Why exercise is so important. Mark Sisson, who has a website called Mark's Daily Apple, and you can find that by Googling Mark Sisson. He talks about something that's called micro workouts. This is what's making exercise part of your identity. In other words, I sit a lot. I'm behind a desk, but what I have is I have a set of bands in the room with me. So I stand up every 10 or 15 minutes and do some variation of a band exercise. Then I could stand up, okay, and I could do 50 squats. I could stand up, I could go into another room, one room over, and off my bed frame, because I can't do push-ups off the floor anymore, I can bang out 25 or 30 push-ups, which are elevated. I can, after a period of time, go walk around the block. I could go down the cellar and do 20 deadlifts. There's a ton of different things that you can do in your house if you have a sedentary job. If you get up out of your seat at work, you can do 50 squats. By the way, I have discovered that most people don't do squats because of balance and uncomfortability. But if you take a furring strip and stick it under your heels, and I'm talking about a 2-foot piece, and then do your squats, it is so much easier, and you drive the tension into the front of your thighs. So understand that. So if you did 4 sets of 25 every day, you'd have 100 squats done. That burns off lunch, and it'll burn off a lot of things. It'll increase your metabolism. Make sure that you make exercise part of your life. And if you do that, and if we encourage our kids to do that, they're going to be healthier, they're going to be happier, and you are too. From a teacher's standpoint, you're not going to have as many behavior problems, and you're not going to have as many bullying events. When we have a movement right now in public school, it's called mindfulness. I think we need to incorporate much more yoga and meditation into schools as well. And we have to get kids to think about their behavior, what they're doing, and how it impacts others. And by helping them understand these 4 things. By the way, these 4 dimensions, I didn't come up with these. These 4 dimensions came many, many years ago, when I read Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And when I read that book, I said, these things really do fit into a lot of what I'm doing. And I wrote the publisher, and the publisher granted me permission to use them in some of my writings and so on. But these are the things that really make the difference. And if you haven't read Stephen Covey's book, please do. He's deceased now. That man had tons of insight on how to be healthy, happier, and how to run businesses, and basically how to run your life. So take the time to read that book as well. That's another book that I've curated that I think will give you some insight into how to live, love, and laugh, if you will. So there you have it. So let me just give you this in recap so you know exactly what I'm talking about. In terms of exercise, never stop walking. Try to stay within zone 2, where it's a little bit hard to breathe, to strengthen your heart and your lungs. Number 3, do some body weight exercises. It's only going to help you. And if you are over 60, it'll help with bone loss. Number 4, do a little sprinting, or get on an elliptical or jump rope or something for just a few minutes a week. Not a lot, just a few minutes a week. It'll boost your metabolism, and you'll burn more calories thereafter. And the last one, make it part of your life. Plug in times where you just get up and move around, do some push-ups off the bedpost, do some squats, do something, okay, that will help you. What it'll do, you'll find when you go back to work as well, that you're going to be able to focus better and be more productive. My name is Jim Burns. You have been listening to Consistently Fit, formerly Anti-Bullying 101, but we're discovering that the fitter people are in the 4 dimensions that we speak about: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Guess what? They're kinder, gentler, they're smarter, and they certainly don't treat people with disrespect. And we can reduce bullying in our schools. If we take this approach, it'll make an enormous difference. So, once again, my name's Jim Burns. Thank you for listening to Anti-Bullying 101. I look forward to seeing you. We're going to get these podcasts out there now because I find them absolutely necessary and so important for the well-being of our students and for adults as well. Thanks for listening, folks.